that rate, which indeed they have continually increased. Now, if indeed then we'll say that that policy was set at 9% in 2019, which was the highest at a time that the interest rate caps was scrapped. Now we're talking about it being at around 8.25%. That was what it was said during the previous meeting, late December. Today, we're talking about it being around 8.75%, because indeed, if you look here, then your bank then is going to give you loans at around 17.5%, 15.3%, or 13.2%, depending on where you are in that risk-based lending model. Two conversations that are partnered today. Just before we get into that conversation, let's take a breather, go back to the newsroom, see what biggest business headlines that you are waking up to today. East African Breweries Limited, EABL, has launched its sustainability report that showcases the organization's intention to reduce carbon emissions by 95% by the year 2026. EABL Group Managing Director and CEO Jen Kabruku has said that this move is set to reduce the emissions by 42,000 tons annually. Lisa Maina opens this bulletin.
Round of applause, it's congratulations to East African Breweries Limited.
Speaking during the launch of the report, the Environment PS nominee Dr. Chris Kipto highlighted the danger of climate change in the country and lauded EABL for investing $5.1 billion to establish biomass plants in Kenya as the firm seeks to fully transition to clean energy.
Climate change is emerging as the single biggest threat to life on Earth. It poses a serious threat, a serious challenge to human well-being globally, with particular intensity on the African continent. Millions of people across the globe are facing multiple climate-related challenges, including severe and more frequent droughts and floods, heat waves, and decreased food production.
Dr. Isaac also lauded EABL's tree growing program in Mau Forest as a well-targeted move to impacting climate change, as well as promoting mixed farming systems like enabling barley farmers to plant at least 5 trees in their farms.
Among the notable investments is the new biomass boilers that will replace heavy fuel oils, use sustainable fuel alternatives, and reduce your carbon emissions by 95%. Which is about 42,000 tons a year. It is also imperative to see EABL has nurtured over 1 million tree seedlings with a success rate of 85% in the last 10 years. I'm also aware that you have impressive footprints in managing critical water towers and other protected areas like Aberdares and Karura Forest. Indeed, your efforts in conserving our forests and water towers are leaving an indelible mark on the ecosystem. I understand that EABL is investing heavily in climate-smart agriculture production through tree growing program in the Mau region, working with barley farmers to plant at least 5 trees within their farms. More than 62,000 farmers in East Africa have adopted regenerative climate-smart practices in a bid to shield themselves from the effects of climate change and secure yields and livelihoods.
Jane Karuko Company CEO and MD has noted that addressing climate change has been their top priority as a company, and added that the move seeks to increase their share of renewable energy use in the global energy mix.
So proud that we are going to be net zero before the end of the year in Tusker plant and in Kisumu plant, and Uganda it's just been fired, and we are also investing in Tanzania in our Moshi plant. So we are putting our money where our mouth is. And we want to effectively implementing the biomass as a source of energy will drive our emissions down by 95%. And it's big money and big volume because we are talking about 42,000 tons of emissions. We're also using this to build more jobs. So the young engineer talked about using macadamia husks. Before, probably that was being used for roads, but now we are developing that value chain and others. And because we know how to develop value chains, like the Senator Robali barley value chain. The biomass plants are also going to produce or to give us very significant value chains for employment and economic agenda, just like sorghum.
Lisa Minor, Look Up Business.
Lisa Minor with that story. Now moving on, supply chain professionals have been urged to adhere to stronger ethics and governance practices to build a strong global industry that can withstand a crisis. This was the main message in this year's Stakeholder Engagement Forum organized by the Liaison Group in Nairobi. Speaking during the forum, Liaison Group Managing Director Tom Mulwa noted that supply chain management has in the recent past emerged as one of the greatest challenges to operating responsible businesses in Kenya. It is for this reason that the government has continually focused on supply chain professionals in an effort to create an enabling business operating environment in the country.
This is a career for the future, and because what we are seeing is that unless you preserve the value either in government or in business, unless you preserve the value by having very efficient and transparent and innovative ways of sourcing, then your business could be exposed in a very big way to some risks, which sometimes are not insurable. COVID may have pushed us further to the fifth industrial revolution. So how is the procurement and supply chain responding to that push? Is it going to create the necessary trust, for example? Because I think trust is the currency which, in my view, is invaluable.
With the COVID-19 pandemic putting more emphasis on supply chain management, the professionals have been called upon to work together and come up with proper strategies that will boost confidence and trust among business professionals relying on them.
There's now a need to have stakeholders get out of their norm and be more adaptive, engage each other through open discussions as we're having here, share ideas on mitigating the effects, innovatively adjust and work around lead times, build inventory and buffer stocks, diversify suppliers, and be particularly sensitive in cushioning our public from prohibitive prices. I therefore call upon all the supply chain management stakeholders here to prioritize both horizontal and vertical collaboration and utilize the end-to-end digital platforms available to further our shared interests and grow supply chain management to greater heights.
The same message was echoed by supply chain stakeholders in attendance who were urged to get into strategic collaborations to grow confidence in the industry as well as expand their business.
We focus our energy in negotiation, in partnering with our suppliers to be able to build rapport and have long-term agreements or frameworks, as to say, in terms of relationship with our suppliers. The essence for that is that so we drive value for money is not that we only look at cost, but we also look at time. So items are delivered on time, and also we look at the quality of the services or the goods that have been delivered. What we are doing now, and this we are collaborating with our finance department. Now we are having big bonds, either performance bid bond or an advance payment bond being done through SWIFT. So we're working with the banks.
For Look Up Business, Simba, Kiage. Standard Chartered Bank has recorded a 38% increase in tax before profit of 12.2 billion shillings in the third quarter of 2022, ending at 30th of September, compared to 8.8 billion shillings in profits before tax recorded in the same period last year. Edwin John Mukora with our report.
Standard Chartered Group profits increased to 8.7 billion shillings for the period under review. This marking a 37% increase compared to profit after tax of 6.3 billion shillings recorded in 2021. While releasing the results, Standard Chartered CEO Kiage Simba has said that the healthy business momentum continues to drive growth for the lender, with revenue jumping by 10% from 22.27 billion shillings recorded in 2021 to 24.56 billion shillings recorded this year. The group recorded a 7% jump in net interest income to 15.78 billion shillings from 14.712 billion shillings recorded last year, and a non-funded income that increased to 16% from 7.56 billion shillings in 2021 to 8.7 billion shillings. Due to the high inflation as well as increased investments, the lender's operating cost increased to 11.4 billion shillings compared to 10.695 billion shillings recorded last year. The bank's loan book expanded to 136 billion shillings from 125.97 billion shillings in 2021, marking a 9% increase. This attributed to the recovery of their clients' businesses from COVID-19 pandemic disruptions. In the period under review, customers' deposit increased to 286 billion shillings from 265 billion shillings recorded an year earlier. Standard Chartered announced an interim dividend of 6 shillings for every ordinary share of 5 shillings. Edwin John Mokora, Look Up Business.
All right, let's move on to the last story on our desk at this hour, where Governor Kajiado County has come out to defend the ongoing livestock offset program currently in the county. This is after members of the county assembly opposed the repurposing of the county budget, saying that the county departments needed the money as well. Let's take a look.
Kama wangetoa pendekezo ya kurekebisha namna hizo documentation imefanya, tungekubaliana. Lakini kuua mradi kama hiyo na kusema ward fund ni kitu gani? Ward fund wakati watu wanakufa, utaenda kufund nini? Pesa ya darasa, pesa ya borehole ndio muhimu kuliko maisha ya mtu.
The question that we've been asking on this particular segment for our stock exchange is, why is the money? Because let me take you back to how we closed yesterday. Safaricom, by the way, barely, and I say barely, touched the 5 million mark. I mean, every time we see Safaricom at 1 point something, and 2 point something, 3 point something, that tells you where the market is, because then in this economy, we do know how a stock exchange behaves. Your portfolio essentially needs to have Safaricom and the rest of them. So yesterday, we kept on asking, where is the money? But then we do know, because in a market where 68% of investors are foreign investors, you would say probably in November towards December, majority of them have already closed trading, and they're saying, let's go on holiday, let's pick things next year. But then Safaricom has been giving us good news. I mean, if you look at the banking industry with their 9 months results, you would say that would excite the market, whether you are a local investor or a foreign investor, because we do know banks like KCB are dominated by local investment. So why is the money? And things are bad, or majority of you were hit with the FTX collapse. Anyway, let's not get into that. Let's go back to how we closed yesterday and how we opened this morning. Remember, it's been 2 hours and 21 minutes of trading. Let's just see where we opened this morning. And I do know, indeed, when you look at that live data from NSE, you will say a couple of changes, but this week, they've not been changing. Let's start with what were the biggest gainers yesterday. We'll look for any surprises, if any, from this particular list. But then you will say Umeme probably and Total in that list are the new entrants on that. We'll say around 8.76% as the biggest change to 5.93%. You say again, not so much. That's the biggest indicator telling you that even the changes themselves are not really recording a robust difference, because from 8.76 to 5.96, you will say again, subdued trading. All right, let's move into the biggest losers yesterday. And that's exactly how they opened this morning as well, before we check the live data and confirm whether indeed this is where we are. But when you see Scan Group Limited has been a bigger entrant in this, but when you see, anyway, not so much of a change, because Britam is now at 5.28, representing 3.65. And we say, when you see Britam at 7, 6. That's the biggest one because now you can get it at 5.28. NBV, we did say anytime they would drop from the 370 to the 323.30, you would talk about that coming into the big losers list. But then again, Sydney and Scan Group, not so much because we've been seeing them again in this particular list of top losers, so not so much of a surprise. Let's go to where the money is. Big 5 movers by volume from yesterday. Again, we're tracking Safaricom to see whether they're back at it again. Again, not so much, and I do apologize for the way it looks rather, because the second indicator should have been a bit clear so we know who's second. But Safaricom again closed yesterday, not as the biggest, all right? They are at 4 million flat, you will say that, but then equity not so much of a surprise. But I will tell you why again, the result that they give us. Now you will say that equity is the only company or bank that is boasting of $1 trillion in customer deposits. Think about it, that's huge. $1 trillion in deposits. No wonder now, again, if we go back to this list again, you will see they're back on as the big 5 movers by trade, 7 million to be exact, what they moved yesterday. And KPLC and Britam, of all of them, 309,700. But you will say, if Britam is in the top 5 and also among the top losers, then you will say, not so much, because then the money is gone to that reaction of the news that equity is back to the $1 trillion in deposits, and then back to what we've seen, KPLC and Safaricom, and that's just it. So again, why is the money? Maybe we are getting close to the end of this year. Remember, it's November 24th. So once we get to December, maybe we shall be asking ourselves where the money is. Are you trading or are you going on holiday? Now, once we come back then, it's that conversation that we started the show with, building tech, sustainable building tech. Because you would look into some of the bottlenecks in the real estate sector in the country, and especially around this conversation for affordable housing. Majority of developers will tell you, we need something that is up to standard in terms of where the building tech is got to, but then at the end of the day, it's got to be affordable. There are companies that are doing that, and I'll be very much happy to introduce you to one of them. We do have the CEO in the house, Makiga. Who are they? What are they doing? Once we come back.